Hello, I'm Professor Squidward, and today I've been forced to teach you about the 8th Amendment, the part of the Constitution that says the government can't use punishments that are cruel and unusual. Honestly, I deal with enough cruelty just working with SpongeBob.
Shut up!
In this video, we're going to cover the essentials, what the Constitution actually says, the major Supreme Court cases you need to know, the important laws and government actions, and other legal options the government could use without crossing the line. So pay attention, try not to cause chaos, and let's get this over with before I regret ever teaching you people again.
Alright, Supreme Court is now in session. The court will now hear arguments between Trope versus Dole.
Counsel for Trope, please explain why you believe the punishment is unconstitutional.
Your Honor, we argue that revoking Mr. Trope's citizenship is cruel and unusual punishment. Citizenship is a fundamental right. Taking it away is extreme and degrading. It is disproportionate to the offense of desertion. The 8th Amendment protects people from punishment society considers inhumane. Stripping citizenship clearly fits that standard. It permanently changes a person's legal identity and has lifelong consequences. We respectfully ask the court to rule this action unconstitutional.
Trope had served in the U.S. Army and deserted his army post during wartime. The government, represented by jurors, wanted to punish him by taking away his citizenship. The court had to decide whether this kind of punishment violates the 8th Amendment.
Thank you. Counsel for Duels, your argument, please.
Your Honor, the government argues that revoking citizenship is a lawful and appropriate consequence for serious offense of desertion. Desertion threatens military structure and discipline, especially during times when national security is at stake. We also maintain that the punishment is proportional to Trope's actions and not intended to degrade him personally. Instead, it serves as a strong deterrent for others who might consider abandoning their duties. We believe that this measure does not violate the 8th Amendment.
After reviewing the arguments, the court rules in favor of Trope. Revoking citizenship as punishment is cruel and unusual. Citizenship is not a license that expires upon misbehavior. Rather, it can only be voluntarily renounced by express language and/or conduct. Since Trope did not involve himself in any way with a foreign state to demonstrate disloyalty to the United States, his court-martial conviction of desertion did not justify his expatriation. Case is dismissed.
The decision in Trope v. Duels shows that the 8th Amendment protects more than just physical punishments. It also introduced evolving standards of decency, which consider society's values when deciding what is cruel and unusual. This case continues to influence how courts evaluate punishments today, ensuring they are fair, humane, and proportional. In addition, other legal avenues could have been taken. First, Congress could have passed legal legislation to clearly define punishments for desertion without taking any fundamental rights like citizenship. Second, the president could have used executive clemency or pardons to present excessively harsh consequences while still maintaining military discipline. Alright, here we go. Now we're talking about Gov v. Georgia, where the Supreme Court had to decide if the death penalty is constitutional. Basically, the court had to figure out if executing someone is considered cruel and unusual, or just dramatic. Spoiler alert, some people like drama, I do not.
All rise. The Supreme Court is now in session. The court will hear arguments for Gregg v. Georgia.
Counsel for Gregg, please explain why the death penalty is unconstitutional in this case.
Your Honor, we argue that the death penalty is cruel and unusual punishment. It is too severe and irreversible. Arbitrary application creates fairness concerns. The 8th Amendment protects against punishments that are degrading or excessive. We ask the court to rule the death penalty unconstitutional unless strict standards prevent unfair sentencing. I wish to say prison life is better, but during this time, prisoner lawsuits focus on 8th Amendment violations related to issues like excessive force, overcrowding, poor medication, and sanitation.
So here's the drama. Gregg was sentenced to death under Georgia law for murder. The court had to figure out if the death penalty could exist at all, or if it was just really a flashy way to punish criminals. This came after Furman v. Georgia, which stopped execution because they were messy and unfair. Fun times.
Thank you. Counsel for Georgia, your argument, please.
Your Honor, the state argues that the death penalty is constitutional if applied under proper guidelines. Georgia law uses a bifactor trial to separate guilt and sentencing. Aggravating and mitigating factors guide judges and juries. The death penalty serves as a deterrent to retribution for the most serious crimes. Therefore, it is not cruel or unusual when these safeguards are in place.
After reviewing the arguments, the Supreme Court rules in favor of Georgia. The death penalty is constitutional under the Eighth Amendment. It is allowed when applied carefully with rules to prevent arbitrary or excessive punishment. Thank you. The case is dismissed.
So, the court basically said yes, you can use the death penalty, but follow the rules, or it's cruel and unusual. Other legal avenues could have been taken. First, state legislation to make stricter sentencing rules or limit the death penalty. Less drama, more fairness. Second, judicial review procedures to check death sentences regularly. Because humans make mistakes, and apparently the system isn't perfect. Did you know that Trump's Executive Order 14164 sought to restore federal death penalty enforcement and subsequent directives to assist states? In short, the Eighth Amendment still protects people from punishments that are unfair or over the top, unlike my life every day with SpongeBob and Patrick.
Okay, we're back in the call room for City of Grants Pass v. Johnson from 2024. The big question is whether punishing homeless people for sleeping in public violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Let's find out.
All rise. The Supreme Court will hear arguments in City of Grants Pass v. Johnson.
Counsel for the plaintiffs, please explain why these ordinances are unconstitutional.
Your Honor, punishing people for sleeping outside is cruel and unusual. Many people have no shelter, and these laws punish unavoidable behavior. They are unfair and disproportionate. The Eighth Amendment protects vulnerable people from harsh or degrading punishment.
Back to the classroom. The lower court sided with the plaintiff, saying the laws punishing people who had nowhere else to sleep. Now the Supreme Court has to decide.
Counsel for the city, please respond.
Your Honor, these laws are just general rules about public property. They apply to everyone, not only homeless people. Fines in jail are normal punishments. The Eighth Amendment is meant to protect people from cruel or extreme punishment after a criminal conviction, not from following city rules.
The court rules in favor of the city. Enforcing these ordinances does not violate the Eighth Amendment. Case dismissed.
Alright, so basically, here's what this means. The court decided that sleeping outside is not automatically cruel and unusual punishment. The Eighth Amendment protects against extreme punishments, but it does not guarantee shelter. There are other ways to protect people. Laws could guarantee access to shelter. Social programs could provide housing, mental health support, and rehabilitation. Local housing policies could prevent homelessness before it happens. The court's decision shows that the Eighth Amendment applies to harsh and degrading punishment, but legal and policy solutions are needed to help vulnerable populations.
And that wraps up our look at cruel and unusual punishment. We started with choppy duels where the court said taking away someone's citizenship was too extreme. Then, in Georgia, the court decided that the death penalty can be allowed, but only if applied carefully and fairly, with rules to prevent arbitrary or excessive punishment. These cases show that the Eighth Amendment isn't just about physical punishment, it protects people from punishments that are excessive, arbitrary, or degrading. Legal options like clear legislation, judicial review, or executive pardons can help make punishments stay fair.
City of Grants Pass v. Johnson shows the Eighth Amendment stops extreme punishment but doesn't solve homelessness. The ruling says camping bans aren't cruel and unusual, meaning real help must come from housing, shelters, and social programs.
So, whether it's military law or even the death penalty, the Eighth Amendment keeps the justice system humane, and unfortunately, it still can't protect me from SpongeBob's daily chaos. Class dismissed.